In an ugly, ugly game, the New England Patriots have won 10-7 against the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl to represent the AFC. Let's get into it. The Pats are back in the Super Bowl for the first time since the 2018 season where they defeated the Los Angeles Rams. And I just can't believe this. A year ago, they had Maye, who ended up being a awful hire, just didn't really seem to I guess just be well equipped for the position. And you weren't even actually starting Drake Maye. He didn't even start last year till really midway through the season. Now, fast forward to January of 2026, and here we are. Mike Vrabel is leading them to a Super Bowl, and I think this just says a ton about the organization. Again, knowing when to pivot off of a bad hire and going and getting your guy, a guy that you knew also that knows your organization was interested in the job. And it has just completely turned this team around. And again, the entire organization deserves credit for this because I don't think anyone had the Patriots going to the Super Bowl this year. Yes, some people thought that they would be able to make light of their schedule this year and, stack some wins, maybe win the division. But I don't think anyone saw this coming. And I want to give credit to Mike Vrabel, a guy that won Super Bowls with the Patriots as a player and knows what has to get done, but has not been able to get to that point as a head coach. He was one game away in 2019 with the Tennessee Titans when they lost to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, and now he's finally gotten his shot at the big game as a head coach. And again, I thought he did a lot of good things, number one, this year, just overall turning around the culture for the Patriots and really getting them to be more of a disciplined football team, a team that had an identity, and overall just a team that was more bought into what they were trying to do. They looked, again, lifeless last year. They look like the complete opposite. But when we really get to the game, the AFC Championship, I think Vrabel pushed a lot of good buttons. And I think his biggest, his biggest strength yesterday was the fact that he knew what the game plan was. Look, we're going against a backup quarterback, a guy that has not played a game in years, a guy that has 1 week to get ready and get used to this offense. Look, we're going to be conservative. We know that there might be some potential weather. And, hey, all we have to do is just score some points. And really, we don't need to do anything cute. We don't need to do anything stylish. We just want to get a win and get out of here with the win. That's really all that matters. And that's what the Pats did. I thought, though this wasn't Vrabel himself, but McDaniels did a great job on that drive to open up the third quarter. I think it took away 9 minutes, and they got a field goal out of it. Number one, that took the lead. And that just wasted so much time, put so much more pressure on the Bronco offense. So I love that. And then again, once the weather really started kicking in, the Patriots didn't do anything cute. They, again, just stuck with the game plan. Hey, we're going to get out of here with the win. It doesn't matter how it looks. And that's what they did. And again, I give credit to Vrabel for getting that group to buy in. They were ready to go. It just seems like the entire team knew what the mission was on both sides of the ball. So again, he deserves a ton of credit for this situation. And I would just want to give him, again, a ton of credit and his flowers because this guy has really deserved this for a long time. Kind of got thrown a pretty bad ending to his time with Tennessee, but he's been able to kind of come back this year and make the most of this opportunity. So we'll see if he gets it done, but wanted to give a ton of credit to Vrabel. Before getting into the players, I just want to touch on Robert Kraft. This is now Robert Kraft's 11th Super Bowl that his team has now made. And this is his first, since the Brady era has ended, that he's been able to get to a Super Bowl without Brady or Bill. He's been able to make a Super Bowl prior to Bill and Brady, but again, that was all the way back in the 90s, but that still matters. It's just crazy that he's now been able to bring three different decades worth of Patriot teams to at least a Super Bowl. Obviously, he's been able to win 6 and now has the potential to win his 7th. But it's just going to be a huge one for him because, again, we all know how much this is going to mean to him, even if he doesn't say it, that he won't have Bill or Tom on this staff, and then they still get it done. So, look, he's one of the best owners in the game. Again, I give him a ton of credit for knowing when to pivot, when to move on and go get Vrabel, and it's just a testament to the organization that the Patriots are. Again, you look around at some of their competitors. The Buffalo Bills have still not won a Super Bowl in this time. Drake Maye has now made a Super Bowl before Josh Allen. You look at the New York Jets in that division. The Jets have been trying to rebuild. The Patriots go through their own rebuild themselves, and they almost actually start another rebuild because Mac Jones didn't work. Now they have Drake Maye. and they're already in the Super Bowl. The Jets are still trying to figure out who's even going to be their quarterback next year. It's just a completely different class of organizations, and again, Kraft deserves a ton of respect for that. Now, on to the New England offense. There's really not a ton to discuss. It was really, really ugly. I'm not even going to lie. Even prior to the weather, they had really nothing going. And a lot of people have been saying this, that, the New England offense starts slow. And they didn't really prove anyone wrong yesterday. They started slow again, and they just really weren't able to get much going at all. But as time went on, eventually they did find something with Drake May's his legs. The only thing that really worked for him, and he finished with 10 rushes for 65 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown was huge off the turnover, which we will get into in just a sec. But look, Drake Maye, did he play the best game? No. Has he played that great in the playoffs? I still would say no. But some things I want to give him credit for, again, knowing to at least know when to use his legs. If it's not going to work with your arm, especially in that weather as the snow started coming down, you might as well use the other part of your game that makes you a threat. So I think that's something that he should be given credit for. I think he also called that play on the third down to ice the game. He didn't even tell his players about it. Massive by him, and to actually execute that and to ice the game. Again, credit to Drake Maye. And the biggest thing I think people aren't going to talk about, because it's not the flashy discussion, it's not the flashy topic, is that Drake Maye had no turnovers. He had turnovers in the Chargers game and had multiple in the Texans game. So the fact that Drake Maye knew in this spot, hey, AFC Championship, 1 game away from the Super Bowl, we don't have to do anything cute, just got to hold on to the football and score literally more than the touchdown. That's what they did. And again, you got to give credit to him for at least stepping up in the moment and not botching it. Again, did he do anything spectacular in the passing game? No. He had 86 passing yards, but still, he's going to the Super Bowl. Do I think he needs to play better moving forward? 100%, but still, this guy's a second-year quarterback. He didn't even start his full rookie year. You got to give him a ton of credit. He's now going to the dance. We'll see what he does, but this was a big one for Drake Maye. Now to touch on the New England defense. 102 passing yards allowed, 79 rushing yards allowed. Denver was 4 for 14 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth. And New England had 3 sacks, the interception, and the fumble recovery, which should have been a touchdown. That should have been a touchdown. Honestly, I hate how the NFL calls some of this stuff where they blow stuff dead. Just let it go, especially in a situation like that where the team is not even that far from the end zone. But it is what it is. I still think, if that was properly called, New England would have scored, but still they scored on the drive, so it's not something we're discussing as much. But look, I want to give credit to the New England defense. They've really stepped up over the last couple weeks. Yes, especially, you were going against a backup quarterback, and then you were in that weather, so I'm not going to be like, oh my God, this is the best performance I've ever seen from a defense. But at the same time, they've done their job all throughout these playoffs. They've done their job, and I really can't hate on that. And again, they knew the assignment. Look, all we have to do is make this guy try to beat us. He got us on one drive, but other than that, can you do it multiple times? And Stidham showed that he couldn't. Even prior to the weather, he was not looking good enough to be a starting quarterback and actually being capable to win the game. So New England's defense did, again, what they did. They did their job, and they knew, again, the assignment. All we got to do is just create even one turnover on this guy, and you probably win the game. That's what they did. So, again, a ton of credit to them. We'll see how they do again in the Super Bowl. Very excited because I think they're really starting to get hot at the right time, especially with those D tackles yesterday. I mean, oh my God, they were looking phenomenal. But hey, we'll see what happens. But just wanted to touch on the New England defense. I know it's not going to be a popular talking point, but they still deserve credit for their performance yesterday and the rest of the playoffs. Now into the Denver Broncos, and we have to start with Stidham just because he's the main talking point. Look, Stidham actually got it going pretty early into the game. He had the deep bomb to Mims. That was quite the shot. He took it. He took advantage of the moment. And then I loved the play call from Sean Payton on that same drive. They score a touchdown on the play action to Sutton. I was like, okay, maybe this guy is, getting a little bit more situated and is actually, here for the moment. Yes, it's the scripted plays, but still, you have to actually, do that, and you have to actually execute that, and he did. So I thought maybe we're going to have a little bit more of a game here because, again, if they scored a little bit more points, it would have put a lot more pressure on the New England offense because, again, yes, it was still a resilient effort from them, but still, 10 points is not much to be, happy about. So even getting a couple more points here and there would have been massive, but Denver just wasn't able to do it. And now onto Sean Payton, what really costed them was just not being able to get that fourth down. And honestly, again, I don't know why so many of these guys do this. I know the analytics show it, but I just feel like at times you have to have a feel for the game. And I said going into this game that Denver specifically needs to know when to take the points because you're playing with the backup quarterback. You don't know how many situations you're even going to have to score touchdowns or even get points. Then you also have weather coming on top of this. Now, I don't know if Peyton knew how much snow was projected, but still, I'm pretty sure he knew that they maybe had a chance of getting snow. I just thought it was a little too ballsy there to just not take any points at all and instead try to go for it. Number one, you also try to get cute on fourth down. You don't even try to run the football. I know they're not the best running team, but it just was not it. I think Sean got a little too over his head. Yes, if you score a touchdown on that drive, it puts you in a great position, but still you were only up 14-0. And even being up 10-0 in that situation still puts a ton of pressure on New England. But I felt like after that, New England started to settle down a little bit, and Denver's offense really never looked the same after that drive, and they never had an opportunity. So Denver really let themselves down. Also, special teams as well. The field goal before the half was brutal that they missed, and then, of course, the blocked field goal. That was a tough one just because of the conditions at that point. But again, that game minimum probably still would have maybe gone to overtime if they just kicked the field goal. So, we'll never know how that goes, but I think Sean Payton's going to be kicking himself and really thinking about that one for a long time because, again, I understand the mindset, but you have to know the moment and you have to know your personnel, and I just feel like that's such a big call on fourth down, and that out of every call was a little shocking in my opinion. So I think that was the biggest X factor for Denver and why they didn't get it done yesterday. We'll see how this game goes in a couple weeks versus the Seahawks, but just wanted to give the Patriots their flowers. I thought it was a gutsy win, a classic New England type of win. Reminded me a lot of almost what the Pats went through in their first Super Bowl run when they go through the tuck rule with the snow, though that was the divisional game, but New England had to go on the road. I think it was against Pittsburgh, and they beat Pittsburgh on a cold day. Same thing, Drake Maye goes into Denver on a cold day. They beat them. Also, that was New England's first win ever in the playoffs versus Denver. They have not had a good time there, so just a lot to be happy about if you're a Patriots fan. But yeah, that's all I had in this one. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like. If you have any thoughts down below in the game, drop them in the comments. I will be checking those out. If you are interested in any more NFL content, feel free to subscribe. My TikTok will be in the description down below. And if you made it this far in the video, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys.